4:32. Like a copy of our agenda. We're not going to be able to do business because we don't have a quorum.
I heard.
But we can certainly have a discussion. And hopefully somebody in the public may hear this. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I will call the meeting to order of the Townsend Properties Committee on Monday, June 16th at 4:32 p.m. The meeting of a roll call. We have Kevin and myself are here at the moment. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube. Is anybody else recording? I think, is that Sandy Lord that's on with us? Oh, she's not acknowledging, but that looks like who it is. So what we were going to discuss tonight, and I just want to put this out there, is the reappointments to the Town Properties Committee. And per the charter, and I'm not going to quote the charter, but I will say the positions that are on this committee is a rep from the Board of Assessors, a rep from the Finance Committee, a rep from Conservation Committee, a rep from the Highway Department, and a rep from Planning Board. So those four are assigned per the charter. You do not have to be a member of those boards to be a representative of that position. So I know that we will be looking for, although we don't have anything in writing, some of the people are not continuing on. So we are going to be looking for people to volunteer for those positions. There's also 2 at-large members, one of whom may be resigning. And I myself was the planning board rep, and the planning board will have to decide who's going to be representing them. We need to have, because it's a 7-member board, you do need 4 for a quorum. And we only have 2 of us here. Colby, you have joined us this evening. Did you want to discuss anything with us?
I was here to listen at least to the review list of town-owned properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can go get it. It's not updated.
Updated since the auction, you mean?
Yeah, I have to pull some of those off because they were just highlighted on my list until it actually went through.
Okay. Well, let me quickly just say that over the last 2 years, Kevin's been on a long time, so have I. And so I can go back a couple of decades actually and say that town properties didn't meet a lot, but I'm gonna say at least once a year, you know, if not twice.
Well,
And
we used to meet every couple of months for years. Well, I think we sorted a lot of the property out.
Yeah.
okay, and the last 2 years,
Last couple of years, we've gone down to a couple of times a year
yeah, we also had 2 auctions.
to get some of the property that we've been working on for years.
Yeah.
Ready to auction off, which there's been an auction in the last 2 years. And 2 auctions, one last year and one just recently. And what we've got, Cole, is we've got some pieces of land that they're not gonna, they won't, I doubt they'll be able to go to auction. One piece is that piece that I think we briefly talked about, that piece over I don't know, how to quote me on this, Cherry Lane, is that where the frontage is?
Yeah,
That's
right at the dead end or.
Dead end of Cherry Lane.
Yeah.
It's originally 25 years ago or 20 plus years ago, we actually slated that property. That property was pretty dry. we actually slated that as a potential future rec area, maybe skateboard park, something like that. Well, and over the years, I think the Beaver Group decided they want to make that their home. And, they've kind of, I think about half of it's underwater. I haven't walked it recently. Did you walk it?
No, I've just seen looked at it on maps.
It's about 50% wet, isn't it now?
Yeah.
More than that?
Yeah. It's in that area.
Yeah.
Well, just so that you know, then the next time we do meet, if you wanna go take a look at that. Cause we will also be looking, the goal will be to not have any town-owned property. So it's either like last time we did a few to conservation, 2 or 3 last time, and then before that, we've also given to the housing trust.
I think there's a few more pieces before we're done.
Yeah.
That will fall under conservation
Yeah.
jurisdiction.
Okay.
One being, I think when we finally work out the bugs of that Dudley Road piece.
Yep.
Possibly that piece. I think there's a piece over in that neighborhood, Cherry Lane. There's another lot. I think it's a half-acre piece or something. Nobody's buying it. And,
There's a few over there.
I don't know if any of those abut that piece. I don't, as I recall, I'm really going back down memory lane. One of them does, I think. I'm not sure, but one of them I think does.
You know, the list isn't as long as it used to be.
No,
So maybe could you give the list to Colby?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then and then we'd have you come back with your opinion maybe at the next meeting that
I
we
think it started
have.
at 50. When I went on some almost 30 years ago, 25 anyway, at the inception, when they formed the town properties committee, I think there was some 53 parcels.
Yeah.
We've narrowed that down now, more than cut it in half.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're down to more, probably 15 left now,
Oh, well.
right around
Maybe 20,
15, 20.
but most of it vacant.
Yeah,
The other big thing would be the Hart Library.
Yeah.
Um,
It's an interesting one.
yeah. Tactful way to put it. So this past Saturday, we had the economic forum at the meeting hall at the library. And we did not have a large attendance, but we have, the individual from planning did attend. And, he was very participatory, as he was on planning, before he had to resign. But he's very active in this and in fact presented a plan, not at the meeting, but after we had all the discussions, he presented this plan that I have sent to Beth, to please share with planning board. And, there was past selectmen that came and also a new, zoning board. The chair, I think it is, came. And, it was really interesting. I mean, we actually got excited about things around the table, so it was really good. And when this plan was sent to me, it encompasses every single department and every board. Or almost, but really, getting input from Historic Society, conservation, planning, of course, and, it just might be interesting if anything that we had left might be able to be incorporated. So the Hart Library was brought up that it should be sold. And even though we went out for bid many years ago, it was done with like an RFP or conditions, like they'd sell it for $1, but it was conditioned. So rather than it was offered, for a suggestion that rather than it being RFP'd or anything like that, go to auction. And whatever it brings, and it's as is. Now, I checked with you or Vicky to make sure that it was not in historic, so it may be a historic building to us,
I know.
but it's not in the
Then
historic,
it's not.
it's not,
I don't
It's
know
not.
why it's not, or how it could have not have been, but it is not.
it is not. One of the problems with that, which would end up being the buyer's problem, would be the fact that it's tied into the town hall septic system
I don't know.
and doesn't have
I
its
don't know
own.
how that's gonna work in the future. Because there was. The riverbank is right off the backside of the building. The conservation restrictions on it are gonna come way up into the parking lot, the only little piece of land that goes with it. To put a septic system is gonna be right next to the road and very close to the building. I don't know how that's gonna work.
Tight tank?
That's one possibility, but you'll never get anybody to buy it with a tight tank because unless they own a septic tank company, they'll be pumping it every week or two. I don't know why. I don't know how that's gonna go. That's gonna be a glitch to try to work through. But
Thoughts?
that goes, cause conservation is gonna be,
Yeah.
as a conservation member that has the agent present. That's gonna be a tough one. To try to get a septic in there. I mean, there's gotta be something that can be able to be put in there. But it's not gonna be much.
Well, we as a town, right now it costs us money because we're not making any tax dollars on it.
No, I
But we as a town don't have the money unless there's grant money out there somewhere to renovate that or even clean it up, number one. Between the mold and the asbestos. You know, and then to have to deal with the Title
I
V.
hope I thought they were gonna do something. They were hoping to do something with the building and with rec over there, but I guess rec is settled into the bank building, as I'm referring to the bank building. And I guess that's where they're gonna stay.
There are grants available, but they come with matching requirements.
Yeah, we don't have matching.
Yeah.
We don't have matching.
It's about 10% that they are for. I had been working on one for it, through Massachusetts Preservation Fund or it's up.
CPA?
PPF.
Oh,
It's through the,
CPA?
no,
Oh,
It's
just
not
in
good.
Massachusetts.
through the Massachusetts Historic Association.
for
For
what purpose? For what purpose?
For renovating the building.
Renovating a building? Really?
Yeah, it has to be on the National Historic Registry though. That's how I found out that it was not.
Well,
Oh, cause it has to be on the historic.
Yeah.
In the, well,
oh,
Yeah.
would it be eligible for any of that? Oh, I got you.
Okay,
I
so
was
forget
on
that.
the phone with.
Just not a huge process, but it has,
well, I'm putting that out there because we need to think about that. I mean, it's been a long time and just having all the mold fester up in there.
How much of the land there is, I'm trying to recall that property line between the house, the left side, and the library building. There's a small parking area there that I believe goes with the library.
It does not belong to the yellow house.
It's small. How much of a septic system could be put in there? I guess something. I mean, it depends on what somebody wanted to use the building for. If somebody was gonna, if the town auctions it off and somebody buys it, wants to convert it into a home, a single family home, then there's probably room enough for a septic system in there. If somebody wants to convert it into an office space or something that would probably fit the building better. I don't know how that's gonna fly, whether, it's always been a shared
You
septic
wouldn't use
system.
as much water though with an office than you would with a home.
Correct. I know it's always had a shared septic system with the town hall. Can that continue? I don't know. I don't know. That's
So that's a Board of Health question.
Board of Health question. It's a town of Townsend question. Because of now you got a private, what's gonna become a private building, privately owned building.
Didn't you just do something with the septic here at for this building?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. This
I mean, they have to have it pumped.
this is a big septic, this is a big septic system here. It's this whole area right up here. And I think, and part of the thing from years ago when the property committee was formed, we bought that property out back here, so we didn't own it. The one, that little grass packing area.
Wasn't a house moved from there or something?
Yes, and that was removed, yes, and that was, that property was bought for a future expansion of this building, a septic system for this building, or at the time, that building as well, and the bank building. What sense if that property goes, I don't know, I guess just sell it, see what happens. Wait a little bit. You know, hopefully some kind of a septic system could be designed for it. You know, you've got a lot of conservation issues on that because of its proximity to the river. Technically, that would be a 200-foot setback. 200 feet puts you over on this side of the road, so that doesn't fly. Then you go back to 100. 100 really doesn't fly. So now you're gonna be, as far as conservation goes, you're gonna be looking at pre-existing non-conforming grandfathered site that's, you're probably gonna be hoping for 50.
Yeah.
Off the riverbank, and maybe a septic system at that point. State's got to approve it because it's pre-existing. It's on the lot. It's a pre-existing lot, I should say. They've got to let you design something. So I guess if they're going to auction it off, they should get it on the dock to go. I guess, and the septic is going to be the responsibility of the septic and engineering responsibility of the owner, I guess, unless.
Unless you leave it as is and try to get fees, collect fees as town water, town sewer.
Well, for using the town septic,
Right,
Oh,
which
yeah.
might be
leave it as
something.
is and then.
That
create a
might
schedule
be,
for
that might be a valid option.
Well, the water you could separate.
Right,
Well, the water is separated now.
but I'm saying if you tied it in, so I'm saying it's
Good
town
idea.
and leave it as is. And then you'd have to.
Well,
create
separate, the town already has a separate water service into that building. What they don't have is.
Is septic,
Is
right.
septic.
But you could, again, create maybe a fee in order to go with that, so they wouldn't have to.
They could,
Reinvest.
based on water volume,
Exactly,
I'm sure something could be set up. Because like I say, when we bought the property out back, that is 200 feet from the river. And 200 feet from the river over across the road to the
Yeah,
town
yeah.
on Parkle. So that was, when we did that, we were looking forwards enough for any expansion that would be necessary for this building. As well as a new septic system could be put on that lot.
Right.
That's a sand lot. It's all sand and gravel. You know, we'll take us a big system there.
yeah,
If this, in the event this one failed at some point.
right. I was just thinking for that building, if you put parameters on it, like an office would be less than a residence,
Correct.
so then.
Or a
if you-
studio.
Right, or
They-
something,
Everybody was talking about artwork and some kind of artist place, but I remember that being thrown around 10 years
Yeah,
ago,
years ago.
Mm.
you know?
And it never took shape because
Yeah.
go back to the cost to doing that. If you gave the building away for $1 to that consortium of people that wanted to form that art, whatever it is,
Mhm.
ABC Art Gallery. It was the costs were prohibitive to do the remediation in the building. And I think at that point, they just grew legs and ran away.
See, so that's it, like, how do we get help with the asbestos and the mold?
That's the hard part, because it's not deemed a historic building. It would be easier for the town to continue owning that building if it was deemed a historic property, because at that point, the town would be eligible for the grant monies to come in and remediate the asbestos and remediate the mold, remove the mold, and with the right funding, put all the detailed woodwork back into place that's there, which is nice. It's,
Do
it's,
we know what the ages on that? Because the town hall is historic.
Yep.
In historic district.
Well, it's in the
So,
district, it's just not. a
Historic.
building.
it's not deemed a historic building.
Yeah.
And I have no
Oh.
idea why,
Yeah, I don't know either. Let me go look and see what the year is.
because the age of that building was 19.
I don't know, that's what I just asked her. So that,
I'm sure the bank is.
I know,
Historic
I
register,
have to say about that too, the bank.
I don't know.
That used to be a bank.
Yes, the bank building,
And then it used to also be the town clerk's office
correct.
and the assessor's office at one time.
That was used as the tax collector's office. When the bank gave the building up, that was, I believe that was either Union National Bank in Townsend or Townsend National Bank, I can't, what it was. But Joe Sherwood, the guy that lives just the next place past Starlight, just before the crest of the hill, before Pheasants, Rob Pheasants, is the greenhouse at Gary. The big greenhouse on the
Okay.
right. The house before that was Joe Sherwood's. He was actually the president of that bank back when I was a little tight, because our family used to do business with him.
Is the Pheasanton House in historic?
Well, that's down there. I don't know.
No.
I'm not talking about the house. I'm talking about the bank building. That's just where Joe
Oh,
Sherwood lived. He lived in that White House
Oh,
just before Pheasants going to crest over the hill.
okay,
Before you get to Chucky Stand. That building, he was actually president of that bank.
well, that's kind of,
That's a tough one, yeah. Maybe it's old enough now, it should be on the historic. It's a sad thing to see the building.
yeah,
Going to pieces, but I just don't know what the town could ever do with it. One, nothing, because we don't have any money to do anything with it, and then what would you do with it after? You know?
okay, well, we're just throwing it out there again.
Still got to spend money on the utilities.
Yeah, well, it'd be better off if it's no chance of it ever being a future town building, and I don't see the need for it, because if the town was ever gonna expand, they might as well expand this building,
Right.
you know, over in the corner, so, you know, if they needed more space, they're gonna have to do
I
that,
think.
you know.
Not as old?
1928.
28,
Oh,
so it wasn't 38.
Oh.
would that be the same for, and I don't mean to make you get up or.
Sorry,
So
so
think that the bank building is the same? What you-
let me see, I
what
just
has
pulled.
now?
I think the bank building's older.
I think it is too, but I'll double check.
Well, how old is this building?
Eight.
1890,
It's 18. I'm gonna say, 90, but then the renovation was in the 1990s.
no, the original
So
town.
the original was in the
Yeah.
1890s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me check on the bank.
So in reference to the economic forum, just to mention again for anybody who happens to be watching, besides the fact we're looking for volunteers, they're gonna be putting together the first round after this round of the surveys and what we came up with for ideas. And so then we're gonna try to have another forum and do another survey. And hopefully we get to something of how to promote Townsend for tourism and hopefully draw new business into town as well as people who will shop in town.
Towns needs business. Towns is still here. Business, both commercial, light industrial.
The bank's 1915, the rec building, and town hall's 1894.
1915 and 1894?
Yep.
Yeah,
Approximately.
yeah.
So it's a rec building now.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, what would you propose? You're gonna be sending out. We probably should do a posting, because now we're at June 16th. So we probably should do a posting for all the positions as of July 1st.
Yep.
To June 30th of 26.
1.6.
And then because there's 2 at-large positions, and then all the department heads
Yeah.
of 5.
Are we down now to a 4-member board today?
Oh, okay.
Or we will be
Yeah.
shortly, if that will be at.
Could be.
It could be 5, I'm not sure, I think Bill Martin wants to stay on, that's what he said, he just couldn't come today. I have to look into him a little bit more.
Bill actually started with me.
Yeah,
He was one of the first members. He was one of the original founding members of the property.
Oh,
It was Bill and I, Peter Collins. What's her name from the assessor's office?
Vicky?
No.
Audrey.
Sweet, Audrey Taylor.
Temple.
Audrey Temple, I'm sorry, Audrey Temple, yeah. We were the original ones.
I didn't know Audrey was on it.
Yep.
Okay, so then.
She had Jody's position. She used to run.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, she used to run back and forth 100 times a night, because we had so much at the time when we started it, and then we were trying to, we worked pretty hard trying to figure out an expansion for we were trying to look down the road, future expansions for things like, Atwood Acres, the piece across the street, trying to make a deal with the state, trade some,
Yes.
the town had. Was that about the time you
It's a
were?
housing authority. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to we had a nice piece of land out on 13 that was surrounded by state, and we were thinking about trying to
Yeah.
do something with them. And that could never.
Collins, I remember his presentation to the Business Association down at Neb's.
He wanted we really felt that the town needed more light industry, commercial business, and it never materialized, and what you ended up with in housing and 2.37 kids in each house. Whatever it ended up being, so.
When do you think might be a better day of the week or time to, hold a meeting? If we could get the answers within, by the first week in June, July, if we could get the answers then, and do appointments hopefully by the 8th. Then perhaps sometime the week of the 14th, so a month from now. And then if you could get us feedback from the list, for that meeting.
And then we could look at some of the other stuff.
Where's 182 Warren Road now?
Where is it, still where?
No, I know where it is, but
That is currently, we recommended the board to sell it. And then I don't know if it got, I'm gonna say you were pushed over to the housing trust.
yeah,
And then at that point, they were looking at it to have it surveyed and break some of the back, because it's like almost 12 acres. So break the back off, and because it touches, I believe, state.
yes,
Yes,
and they were
yes.
gonna offer the back part to the Fish and Wildlife who are not,
Possibly.
who are not interested.
Okay,
That I got out of Veronica.
okay,
And then they were gonna look at Habitat for
Yeah.
Humanity to see if they would be interested in the park that has the house.
Well, part of the problem is that my consensus with the fiscal issues that the town has. Instead of donate that lot for Habitat for Humanity, maybe they should think about selling it at auction and picking up
I
what some
think
of
that's
them
a
lots bring.
recommendation.
What some of them lots bring, 75
I
grand.
think it should go to auction.
I think the only thing with that piece is after speaking to the building commissioner, I don't believe it's buildable. That has doesn't have the frontage, self-inflicted. Whoever owned it prior cut off a piece and took away his frontage, so the piece they broke off has 200 feet of frontage, but this left this piece with 150.
Oh,
So even though there's a house there,
Pre-existing.
they're, as far as building's concerned, they're saying no, because it was self-inflicted.
maybe those people cut that off after zoning in the '70s.
Yeah, they could be. I just, like I said, when I have asked about that piece repeatedly, I have been told by building that's not a buildable piece,
Yeah, but-
house there or not. Because it does not have the frontage. And it was
Well, it might have
self-inflicted.
it might have some other potential.
Well, they're not the end all be all. I mean,
Okay, well, maybe in a butter will buy it
anything's better than the
that
tax.
has frontage.
Exactly.
Okay.
Maybe that piece right next door, and they'll put it all back together. Could be something. I mean, it's definitely
It
worth
comes back
selling.
on the tax rolls.
Exactly. I'm just saying, like I said, I don't know if, as it is, sits right now, you know how when we just sold the recent batch at the auction, the building commissioner kind of went through them and said what he deemed would be buildable and not buildable.
Mhm.
That one is a no, but like I said, who knows? As long as you go in fully aware, I guess.
Maybe other options should be looked at.
Is there,
The lot's got a lot of land. What is it, 12
Well,
acres?
well,
but what if the town owns it through foreclosure or however? Or taxes?
tax title, yeah.
Why can't the town appeal to the zoning board under pre-existing? Because we didn't inflict it.
No, we didn't.
No.
I don't know, but I don't know if that would be more suitable for the new owner.
I don't know.
What's the-
Why
Well,
would somebody
because-
buy it if they
Why would
didn't know
somebody
that
buy
was
it
an
if they knew there
opportunity?
wasn't a lot though? You know,
Butter.
Well, then the butter's not gonna
the
care.
butter's not gonna get a lot out of it, so they're not, well, less likely to pay lot value for it.
I guess, it
Something
depends where the
could be
butter
done.
is.
Yeah, I guess if something could be done.
Do you think it's worth asking legal counsel?
It could be, it could be. I mean, I don't know if,
Or I could talk to him and find out if he would be opposed to it because,
Well, you'd have to go, you'd have to go before zoning.
yeah,
And you'd
Yeah.
have to ask for a waiver
yeah,
under a circumstance or hardship or whatever.
of the town.
of the
Yeah.
town.
but see,
There's a
yeah, I see
hardship.
what you're saying is that we didn't do that, somebody
No.
else did.
And,
Yeah.
and then the town ended up with it, and then let town council weigh the options, I guess, at that point. To say, yeah, under this ruling, you could. And then take it to zoning board, probably no sense of taking it to zoning board until you run it by, Adam to see if it's even something that can be done, you know?
Cause I mean, obviously, my point was if you can make that somehow a buildable lot.
Yeah,
that
that's a
becomes
big lot, and
Totally different
that
game.
helps the town a lot more than just selling it off as
Land.
acreage.
Yeah,
And that way it only have a value to the person on the left side or the person on the
Right,
right
right.
side or the people behind
Behind
it. So at this point, if the town is trying to get out of.
People behind it being the state.
the state, yeah.
So if the town is trying to create dollars, then I think that's
It
the
needs
direction
cleanup.
that I would try. Yeah, but it don't matter, then somebody, well, if it's deemed that it can be a buildable lot, then it goes to auction, it's gonna bring bigger money. It's gonna become the responsibility of the buyer.
What was the date of the division?
What, oh, how far back?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'd have
I
probably.
can't believe they let that,
1976.
maybe it was only 150 feet of frontage then.
It was 100.
Well, if it was 100 then the lot would still be grandfathered.
Right.
I don't think so. I can go look at it. Let me see, 182, right? 182. Let me
Yeah.
look and see if I can see. if
It's
I can
just a
look back.
possibility, it's one of those pieces that, you know, good to get cleaned up and get back on the tax rolls.
I have a question for you,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
That's what, we're here for you tonight, Cole.
All right.
You're here for us, and we're here for you.
If the Conservation Commission was to ask for, properties to be transferred into the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. Would they, should a request be brought here to the Property Commission or to a select board?
They would,
Well, we recommend, so,
it would come to
Come
us
here.
first, and then we would make a recommendation, and we'd send it upstairs to the selectmen.
Okay.
Believe town council would take a look at it. Everybody that had a skin in the game would take a look at it. And that particular piece of property, if you're referring to the piece that we discussed earlier, or some of the others as well, there are some other pieces that I believe we talked about at conservation,
Yeah.
you know, and as far as I'm concerned,
Absolutely not buildable.
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, my take on it is anything that's not buildable, not saleable. If it's not buildable, it's not saleable. It's offered to the people either side of it, they don't want it, the town's stuck with it, and it's wet, put it into the care of conservation, because at least conservation can oversee what's going on. Like people dumping trash on it, people using it when they shouldn't be, or using it in a manner that they should be, not that they shouldn't be, but using it in a manner that they shouldn't be. And at least that way, there's a little bit of policing on some of our lands that we don't have, that we haven't had in the past.
Has the town considered or have they done any logging on the properties that they have owned?
On the town owned land, yes, we've had timber sales, and on some of our lands, one recent up in,
the housing did.
yeah, up by the Poor Farm. There was a piece cut
Oh,
there.
yeah.
There was a piece recently cut down behind the cemetery in West Townsend. I believe that might have been town owned. I think that was town owned. So we do a little bit of timber harvesting from time to time on some of the town lands.
How much money does that bring to the
It
town?
doesn't bring a lot, but it brings stuff in. It's 10,000 here and 10,000 there.
Oh. Yeah.
It's dollars.
So you're saying possibly that there are existing conservation lots that should be
Well, maybe,
timbered?
Well,
it's town owned. A couple of the ones that I found on the list.
Wow.
wait, what's that piece out back? I haven't walked that piece for years out behind Atwood Acres.
This one's 180,
The one we just had
and
surveyed.
this is
Yeah.
the one that was broken off.
Possibility, yeah.
And
Pretty good
this,
stuff out
this
there.
house was not built
Europe
until
is
two
a
thousand.
Good find.
I mean, you spent some time in the woods.
So I would say
Looking fine.
Have a look.
That house.
Huh?
this house, this is the one that was, so this was part of this.
That ain't worth the money, not the finding, the
And this is,
bring the money.
this was broken off and this house was
You
built
know,
The
before.
size is the size.
Just-
I would say this wasn't broken off prior to that, but I don't think. it
I
was
know
in the
there's some
70s.
pretty good stuff recently that they got rid of.
That was built
So it
in
helps,
two
you know,
thousand
anything that's gonna help
four.
generate dollars to the
Was
town.
the.
But some of these pieces, like I
Was-
say,
This was the original owner?
I'm gonna
Is
recommend.
this
Take some
person,
of those
she wrote-
parcels that
he owned
did
this
go
together, so it would have been,
log them all
15
together
acres.
and
He
fill
kept
them
12
under
and he broke this
Conservation
piece off,
Commission
And
Jurisdiction,
then whoever owns this, now, I don't know if
Because
the,
at
this
least-
current owner
somebody
is
can
the one who built the house or not,
go and do
he
something.
might know.
you know.
Yeah.
I'd have to do more research, our previous
I know who
assessments
it
don't
is.
go back that far.
Oh,
So I'd have to do more research to see, but I don't think it was in the 70s, I think it was more recent than that.
oh, so it's 182 original owner that broke it off and sold the building lot.
Yes, that is correct.
I'm surprised, how could the town let them do that? How could planning let them do anything there, pay their lot? And when he's got a residence there, when they'll let him sell a lot, but his residence doesn't meet the minimum requirements.
I don't,
There's something, there's a little room for debate right there as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Or
like I
argument.
said, on that, the note on the 182 warrant says that it's a non-buildable lot, see building commissioner,
is the note on,
182 warrant. That's why I said that, and then that's the house that, the other one, right, that Lori has in her hand is the one that was built.
2004?
That was built in 2004, and that was the piece that was broken off. And that's like.
Oh,
3
that's
acres.
20 years ago,
Yeah.
21 years
Yeah,
ago.
but it's still within zoning. It was after zoning was.
Yeah, I mean, they could, even if you broke it off prior to that, say it took 5 years to build, it still is.
Yeah, so that
I
was,
have a problem with that. I'd love to bring property that we owned to the town and say, I just wanna cut this lot off and leave myself short on the other side, that doesn't make sense. I don't know how the town could have approved.
I don't know.
This was, so that would have been approved in 2019 is when,
We took it, I think.
No.
For that
no,
182.
that-
2003.
That law was probably taken off of there in the nineties, wasn't
Well, the date before
it? When did the town take it? 2003?
19,
How much? 2019?
he would have been, well, the legal transfer, the grantor was him, meaning that's when the town took it, 2019. So 6 years ago.
Yeah, well,
6 years
yeah,
ago.
but I don't think he paid his tax, he stopped paying his taxes in the.
Oh, a long time prior to that.
Yeah.
The eighties, I think. It's
Yeah, it
just-
just took us
The
that
town,
long.
the town had a lot of, the town had a lot of those when we started the properties committee, they were just sending the people bills every year and some people owed $100,000 on a piece of property and then they were dead and gone and no one was around and the town wasn't enacting the actual tax taking. Instead, they were just billing the residents for land, and some of them were been dead and gone, the kids didn't want nothing to do with it, so they just said, hell, we can pay the taxes.
Right.
And that's how we got some of them, that's why we started with, it might even have been 59 pieces, but we started with an awful lot of property.
Yeah.
And we've been culling it out over the years. And, this was one of them,
I think that one sat in land court for a while, and I don't remember which
for years, I think.
treasurer collector pushed the tax. We got that one in 19.
Well,
But, I mean, I wish, if they, that one, that would be such a great get, if we could auction off 182 warrant as buildable.
Who else you know what's gonna bring anything? If the
Yep.
town's trying to generate dimes and dollars, they're gonna have to find a way to go back and see if they can't make that something out of nothing.
Maybe I'll add that
Otherwise,
to the
it's only
agenda
gonna
to see, yeah, well, once we establish the property committee, you know what I mean?
If it was a
That
big-
would be one, maybe on one of the agenda items is to look at 182 warrant again and ask the CBA to take a look at it. See if they have any suggestions of what,
Under the potential if it wasn't all wet. Would be a small subdivision. So it's gotta have something, there's gotta be something there. Little 600 cul-de-sac or something.
you looked at it, you watched.
I looked at
it.
it as a commissioner and I looked at it a few years back.
Cause you don't
But I was wearing
need,
my commissioner's hat and I was looking at it as far as wet goes. And I felt that there was a house lot there. But I didn't realize that there was short on frontage.
I didn't realize that either, I thought the whole.
We talked to Stan,
yeah, but
briefly
if it's
about it.
12 acres and you would have enough to put in a 3 or 4 home subdivision, you don't need that frontage on the
No,
road, you
I
can have
get it.
just a road.
I get that, Lori, that's a possibility, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, that may be some potential there for that, depending on how much wet's in there. And there's some wet up in there, may cut it right in half, and
Can
all
you
of a sudden,
look at that one?
and all of a sudden, you don't have you know, you're only limited, Lori, as to how much wet you can take out in a subdivision. You can replicate so much, after that, you can't, now you got a situation where, you know, you're battling with conservation.
Why don't we just have that on the list for us to talk to you about at the, well, I say us,
If you
like
get a
I'll be
chance,
appointed again, but
If you get a chance and you can cruise it a little bit, I would probably.
Get a little bit of
I'm trying
a
to think what's found on the
professional
right
opinion.
hand side. And I think that right line is established kind of sort of.
I don't know.
There's no residents on the property right now, right?
There's a building.
No, so that's.
There's no-
But it's boarded up,
It's an
it's
abandoned.
vacant,
abandoned
abandoned.
Actually, I think we had it boarded up.
Yes, the town had it boarded up because there
Number
were
of years
vagrants
ago.
living in it.
It's already up.
Vagrants.
or, well, they're,
Casual dwellers.
whatever, whatever you wanna call
Temporary dwellers.
it.
All right, so I'm gonna say about a month. And I'll get everything posted.
Yeah. Sometime the week of the 14th. Hopefully we have applicants by the 8th.
Yes, because I'll be gone the first week first week and a half in August.
August, so before,
No, September, no. Yeah, September.
HR?
Gotta go.
Okay, I'll try after that postings and I hear back. I don't know if that, I mean, that's a quick turnaround. I have to see, we've got to get on other boards' agendas for their blessing for reps.
they have to.
Yeah, yes.
So
they-
that's why I wanted
Currently-
the posting
currently,
Yeah.
and department heads to know now, and at their next meeting, they can have it on their agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it out there, put a thing out there, trying to get people to,
Yeah.
come on in and help the town.
Yeah.
We need help.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
We need members.
They're grateful to another budget process.
Oh, thank you, right?
Anything else, Colby?
I don't see any wetlands on there, but that doesn't mean there aren't.
All
Is
right,
that the piece there, Colby?
Another interesting
I
piece,
think I looked at it,
another interesting piece here too.
that's already, isn't that a house?
I don't know.
I think I might own that one. No, oh, I know, no, I didn't even own that one. Had a piece down in there somehow. But it was out on the, it was down on the road,
Yeah.
okay, so.
right down through the middle of that, Colby, what do you see? Right through the middle of that,
Yes, I got it.
right there, right there.
Contour, is that that?
Uh-huh. Yeah, look at that, see where it comes out of? I'm pretty sure I saw that up in there, see how it goes down?
This right line here?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a contour. I imagine there's some kind of connection through there.
I may be wrong, well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully we get
Your
to
opinion, you're the boy, your opinion.
that in one way or another
Mhm.
come. Okay, so we're gonna meet this sometime the week of July 14th.
Yep.
And we have instructions of what we need to do before the end of the month. And I think that I will, if nobody has anything else, I will adjourn this meeting at 5:20 PM. Were there any minutes?
You can't, yeah, there were, but you can't vote too.
Yeah, I know, okay, so they'll be on the next
Yeah.
meeting. And then this will only be a meeting of discussion
Yeah.
and votes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you all very much.